Okay, let's move on to our massive Remembering a Rabbitoh with thanks to Brad Ryder, South historian.
We forgot to thank him last week. Thanks, Brad. And also Mark Sivis, who's been helping us out. And a lot of that, we've actually been lucky enough because we've got all the contacts to get people's families. And even this week, I've contacted Robbie Sims, who's actually a nephew of Eric, and he put me onto his son, Nathan. And thanks for that. Anyway, we'll get into it. Eric John Sims, born August 2nd, 1945 in Newcastle. He's Rabbitoh number 540, boys. His family came from Karua, north of Newcastle on the old Pacific Highway. His parents divorced when he was young, which had him spend a lot of time down in the south of Sydney in a place called La Perouse. Technically, he's a South junior, but he also played a bit of footy up at Karua. Now, he played his first sort of senior footy at Karua. At 15 years of age, he played in A grade for him. And that gave him the confidence.
A grade at 15?
A grade at 15, yeah. That gave him the confidence to come down to Sydney and start playing A grade for La Perouse. So he got into the La Perouse Panthers, which wouldn't have been an easy side to get into around that 15, 16 years of age because they had unbelievable sides around the 60s. Anyway, that got him a start in South Sydney's Jersey Flegg team. Then he played there for a couple of years, skipped on to the President's Cup, and he really progressed his way through the grades. And now Eric said, I like playing footy, so I decided to dedicate myself to it. I thought I had something, so I decided to try to develop it. Now that's something that he had, boys, was goal kicking. Now at high school, he had a teacher named Len Leggett. Now he gave him a few pointers, but at the end of the day, Sims was a natural.
Mr. Leggett taught him how to kick.
It's a bit ironic, isn't it?
Oh,
it is a bit.
Geez, he hit him sweet.
We were watching some of the footage the last few nights, and unbelievable.
Was Mr. Sweet involved?
The old toe bashing days.
I love the way the field goals, the way they connected. They were unbelievable. Wish the footage was better, but
and you'll talk about the field goals in a minute.
Yep.
Oh, we'll get to them. Don't worry about that. Now after winning the President's Cup GF in '65, Sims was graded at South as a centre. Sims played a number of third grade games and second grade games, and on the eve of the semi-finals in '65, Kevin Lummy Longbottom was going through a bit of a kicking slump. So South promoted young Sims, and he kicked the winning goal in that semi-final to beat 11-time Premier St George. Now, he stayed in that side and finished up playing in that famous grand final in '65 in front of a record 78,000. There's people all over the roofs. You've heard the stories.
They were on the roofs, on the grandstand. They were all around on the outside of the field.
Yeah, we spoke to Cole Whelan about it. He slept in the Barongal stand the night before to get into the game.
My dad was actually there at that game.
Yeah.
So was Diggy Maven.
Reggie Chappell.
Well, there you go.
They're all there.
All the dads were there.
Now, then the following week after that grand final, they got beat. It wasn't much in it. It was only a couple of points, I think. Then the following week, he went back and played the A-grade grand final for Lapa, and he won that one.
Oh, what a legend.
Oh, what a legend.
I wonder if they would have played that at Redfern Oval back in the day.
Yeah, I reckon they would have.
I'd say so,
back then, yeah.
And did they? And I'm not sure you're going to mention it, but they were saying that when him and Lummy were in the team, Eka would take all the short stuff inside 40 metres, and then the big ones Lummy would take from 40 metres out, 50 metres from the sideline and that. Yeah. And so it just worked perfectly that way.
Yeah. Now Sims said modestly, I've been lucky. I played Jersey Flegg for 2 years. We won 2 comps. I played President's Cup for 2 years. We won 2 comps again. And then I found myself in that 1965 grand final team against that fantastic St George team. So I'm a very lucky man.
He went on and started winning comps for South in first grade. So he made that transition.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm getting to the next one.
Yeah.
Simsy was selected at centre in the 1967 grand final, where he kicked the winning goal to beat the Bulldogs 12-10.
Unreal. Yeah, so that's that grand final when I think Bobby McCarthy took the intercept.
Bingo, yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
Now, Sims scored over 200 points 4 consecutive seasons between 1967 and 1970. And in 1969, he kicked a premiership record at the time, 265 points in one season. At the end of the 1970 season, Sims was such a prolific field goal exponent, the New South Wales Rugby League changed the rule from 2 points for a field goal to 1 point for a field goal. So the following year in 1971, Sims only kicked 1 field goal, but in 1970 he kicked 20. So it really stifled him a bit, changing the rule on him.
Well, I think he said it went to 6 tackles as well, so that gave them extra time to set up for plays and all that. So there's a couple of reasons why, but yeah.
It was the unlimited...
Unlimited, it was, yes.
So he'd work himself in position, and Clive Churchill instructed him, knock him over.
Yes.
When you get in position,
but
take the 2 points.
Yeah, and it made sense because 2 points for a field goal these days seems a bit ludicrous, and it was. Yeah, and also Echo, I don't know if you mentioned, he kicked 6 goals and 5 field goals in one game.
Oh, wow. Oh, yeah, he's a beast. We've got a few of his records later on. Now, Sims went on to play for New South Wales in 1968. He had 1 game, and he also played for the Kangaroos, the Australians, from 68 through to 70, where he played 8 games, kicking 39 goals, 1 field goal and a try. So he played at all 3 levels, boys. Now, at South Sydney, he played 206 first-grade games, and he kicked 803 goals, 87 field goals, 23 tries, and it's still a record to this day. 1,843 points, still a club record. You know?
Yeah, and I think he's
Renault's not too far away. I think he's 1,501.
Yeah, I think the record that won't be beaten is he's got the most field goals.
Field goals.
Because they're not going to. No one's going to kick that many. It's like something ridiculous.
How many was it?
87 field
no
goals.
One's going to get.
No one's going to get.
That's an NRL record. But anyway, he was made a life member of the Rabbitohs in 1974. In 2001, he was named in the Indigenous Team of the Century, which is significant, being Indigenous round this week, boys.
Yep.
Now, his South records are: he's got the most career points, the most goals, the most field goals, the most points in a season, the most goals in a game. He kicked 11 goals twice in a game. And at one stage, he kicked 5 penalty goals in 11 minutes. Now, he also won 4 grand finals for the Mighty Rabbits too. Well, let's not forget that.
He's done it all.
Yeah,
he's absolute champion.
Absolutely done it all. Played for Australia, won grand finals. He's done everything in the game. Point scoring records. Absolute legend.
Yeah, he's really, truly one of the great NRL players of all time.
Indigenous too.
Indigenous too, yeah. And he was a good footballer too. When you look at all those, people talk about his field goals and his goal.
Have a look at some of the highlights on the webpage.
He's very elusive.
Oh, unbelievable. He's a good player, mate.
Big carries for Australia coming out of our own end.
Yeah. That great try-saving tackle.
Yep.
I think he was playing for Australia at the time.
And there's a try there that he starts off. I think he gets an offload. Goes for about 8 or 9 sets of hands, and Australia scores in the corner. It's a great try. You want to have a look at that?
One. Yeah, that's a good try, that one. Now, he was a truck driver in his early days, because back then you had to work, obviously. And he became a wharfie out there at White Bay, and I actually worked with him at Port Bod. And you said you worked with him at one stage,
mate.
Yeah,
when I started in 2006, I worked with Eric down at Glebe Island. We were driving the cars off, and so I got to know him. So I got to know him a bit better then, and absolute champion of a bloke.
Yeah, and he finished up at Port Botany towards the end. Now, after he retired from the Wolves, or not retired, after he left the Wolves, he started driving a truck for a few years, and then he eventually retired from work. And his son, this is all from his son Nathan, this last bit, he said he's really fit and healthy still, So he decided to travel the world, something he'd always wanted to do. So he travelled the world, went to Asia, or parts of Asia, USA, South America, India, and Europe. So I'm glad he got to, got to go and do those sort of things after you retire. That's fantastic.
Lived his life.
And his son also,
because a lot of footballers these days don't get to do that.
No, they don't. No,
they get to travel a little bit in the off season, but they're very restricted to what they can do and what they can't do. But it's glad to see that he done all that.
Can't go anywhere at the moment.
No, well, that's right.
And his son Nathan described him as a great family man. He loved all the family gatherings, and he took a great interest in all his kids and all his grandkids. So he's just So these days he suffers from dementia, and has his good days and his bad days. So that's pretty sad to hear that. But and Nathan also said, I take him to a lot of the reunions, and he goes to some of those Australian reunions when he used to play for Australia. Blokes like Johnny Raper, Billy Smith, they'll start telling stories about them kangaroo tours, and they'll look at each other and laugh and go, what goes on tour stays on tour, boys.
Yes.
Good stuff.
Yeah, and I'm good mates with his other son, Brendan. He's champion too, and he's tough too. He rides motorbikes, and one time there he come off his motorbike, broke his back, And then I said, oh, mate, that's no good. And then saw him a few months later. I said, how's the back going? You right? He goes, I'm back riding.
Oh,
Straight back on. So he's tough like his dad.
yeah, they're all tough, them Simpsons. And a shout out to Eric, and hope all is well, mate.
Hope you're well, mate. And just another couple of quick stories that I read from the notes that Brad Ryder sent us. At training, he'd get there with Clive Churchill early, and they'd stand in the middle, and they'd have kicking duels. Sue could kick him from the furthest out, and Eric said that Clive was actually had a good boot on him, and he was still slotting him as a coach in his older years. The little master, that's how good he was.
He might have had Mr. Leggett as well.
He might have had Mr. Leggett teach him. And another little thing was that Eric always said that when he was playing with Artie Boots in the Australian team, he said he was the quickest bloke I'd ever seen over 25 metres, and that's against all the speedsters in the side, Bob Fulton and all that. He said it was unbelievable how quick he was, Big Artie. So a lifetime of memories from one of our greatest ever players, remembering a Rabbitoh, Eric Sims.
Yeah, just one quick one. I asked my dad, who's seen his whole career. He's a big fan of Eric Sims, and he said that he can remember one day against Penrith, he was being tackled by two blokes on the left-hand side, and he ended up dropping it and kicking a field goal for 40 metres out while he was being tackled. He stood in the tackle and kicked a field goal for 40 metres out.
Yeah.
It was incredible. He said, I've never seen anyone do it to this day.
Mate, we're going to have to get Reggie Chappell on Rabbitoh's radio podcast. He's got some stories to tell, I can tell you.
Oh,
Well, you can tell me. He can tell us.
Oh, he loves it, Reginald. Loves it.
Yes.
Shout out to you, Dad.
Let's see where you get it from, chaps.
There you go.
The league wealth of information.
Well, we're a club that goes back a long way. We've got a lot of history, and Rabbitoh's radio podcast, we're going to unearth it all. We got
We've got
years
passion
and years of stories to tell.
with passion.
We have. And if we can't tell them, we'll make them up.
Bloody oath.
No, we won't need to, because we've said this before. We've got that many guests coming on. If we run out of stories, we'll just get them on to tell them.
Yeah.
Work
that's
out
right.
beautifully.